Father Mark here with a Faith Minute. Hey, we're looking at the 4 parts of prayer this week. Preparing your heart to pray, talking to God, listening to God, and saying goodbye to God until you pray again. Listening to God. Listening to God can take a little bit of time to kind of hear what God might want to say to us or see things that God might want us to see or understand. It takes time. I like to think of it as daydreaming with God. Did you ever daydream as a little boy or a little girl, or maybe a daydream now? I do. Kind of kick back on the grass and look at the clouds and see what you see. The longer you look, you're like, oh, that looks like a hippopotamus. That's a big ship sailing. That's a knight with a big sword. You begin to see where the storm clouds are, or where the sun might be peeking through that you didn't see before. You begin to see the way the wind is blowing, what clouds are moving faster than others, or which ones look threatening, but they weren't really. They break apart. The longer you daydream, the more you see things. Listening to God is a little bit like daydreaming with God. When we come to God, we prepare our hearts that we're loved, and then we tell Him what's on our minds, our fears, our sadnesses, our happiness, our joys, our questions, our wonderings, our doubts, whatever's on our brain. We put it all out there like clouds, and then we sit back with God and we look at it all. And God begins to show us things. We begin to see things, where the storm clouds are, which way the wind is blowing. We see connections or beauty that we didn't see before, where the sun might be peeking through. Looking at the clouds of our life with God, we got to let God speak to us. So we think about the goodness of God, all the things we know about God. He's good, He's powerful, He's with us in suffering. He sees us and those we love and those we find difficult. We think about the words and the actions of Jesus as we look at the clouds of our life. What does He say to people that sin, who are afraid? What does He say to people that are suffering? How does He carry His cross? We think about the things that it means to be a disciple, to be courageous and strong, to be honest and pure of heart, where God might be calling us. Sometimes God begins to show us things. We begin to see connections. We think about the truths of our faith, of our church, that the Holy Spirit has shown to us. Daydreaming with God. He can show us things. We can hear things. We can know where we're supposed to go. Sometimes daydreaming with God doesn't really show us what we hoped we would see, or we don't hear what we thought we would hear. That's an invitation to come back and daydream with God again. We don't always get the answers immediately when we sit down to daydream or pray with God. Sometimes God's asked us to wait so that our heart becomes a little bit more like His. What will God never say? He'll never tell you to sin. He'll never tell me or you to keep sinning. And He will never tell us to turn away from the faith or go away from the faith that He's revealed to us in the Holy Spirit. He'll always call us to come back, to be a disciple, to choose truth and love, to be a saint. Can you take time to daydream with God, to tell Him what's on your heart, knowing that He sees you, that He loves you, and then kick back and see what God shows you? I hope you do. God bless you.